So I'd like to welcome for Rene de Silva, Roast the Host, Rene de Silva.
Housemates. You can't live with them, you can't live without them. Especially if you're in my parlous financial state, where if it means trying to find a place, sans housemates, you're probably looking at a studio apartment somewhere out in Nana Goon. Thus, over my life, I have moved house many times, and have over the journey accumulated a host of different kinds of housemates, which probably says more about my inability to get my life in order and find some stability to settle down. So, with the variety of housemates comes a variety of stories, quirks, and habits. Now, I think the most common one that all of us can relate to, is an issue of cleanliness. We've all lived with that person whose cleanliness isn't quite as much as close to godliness as you prefer. So, for example, let me tell you, I once lived with a couple, and they had, let's say, they saw themselves in an environmental sense, in an environmental light. So when it came to doing the dishes, they said they would let the load build up a little bit before they actually start washing them. What this meant to them was that they would use every last piece of crockery in the house before they actually started washing them. So you can imagine coming home after a hard day's work. You want to cook yourself a meal? Well, bad luck. Sorry, everything's in the dishes, everything's in the sink. Can't do it over there at all. Their argument was that they were actually saving water. My argument, they were just born idle lazy. Now, I've shared apartments with old ladies, crazy old ladies that should have probably escaped from some sort of mental institution from somewhere. Now, these old ladies didn't have cats, but I've lived in houses where there have been cats as well. And cats seem to like me because they always seem to take extreme pleasure in decorating all my belongings with their salon lots of shed hair. Speaking of decorating, leaving your toenails all around the place is not going to get you featured on grand designs anytime soon. And speaking of leaving things lying around, I once shared a house with this bloke who liked to go out dancing during the weekdays, some sort of over 28s club, and I'd wake up in the morning, 6 a.m., wanting to make a sandwich before I headed off to work, and I'd get into the kitchen, and he'd leave me the ever so subtle hint that he'd been out the night before by leaving his suede dancing shoes right on top of my chopping board. Now, I appreciate a good movie and a good song just as much as anyone going round, but probably appreciate less so when that volume's been turned all the way up to 11, like you're trying to actually get the artists themselves to hear that you really appreciate your work, you appreciate their work. And the only thing worse, for that, in my opinion, is when they replay the same song on loop, over and over for hours and hours and hours and hours. Now, I had one guy who's a dear fellow, but he decided it was the most brilliant idea in the world to park his car behind the driveway, underneath a tree, in the dark, in no parking zone, so that when I reversed out, I duly sent both our cars to the panel beaters for a few days. And then there's always the fun, simple life-endangering acts, like leaving the gas on overnight, or food in the oven and in the toasters and microwaves on as well. That's always a bit of fun. One of the things sharing houses with people that you can actually learn is you become very good at, say, what's the word? Conflict resolution. Which in my case was separating physical fistfights. So there's a way of doing it. You become very good at it. This is what you do. So there's two guys going at it. You go behind them, alright? You grab the person by the clothes, and then you gotta drag them away by the clothes. And the reason you do that is because if they're swinging wildly, you don't want to cop a hit anywhere on you. Rather, you rip the clothes off than actually twist or turn something that should be twisting or turning. I learned that on Jerry Springer, by the way. That's something else you might knowledge with your housemates. in-house viewing over there. The problem with fights as well is that they do tend to bring the boys in blue down to pay you a visit as well. So neighbors hear the ruckus and they get them in. So part of my development and giving speeches has come from giving statements to police officers too. But all in all, who am I to complain or make fun of people? I mean, if I probably looked hard at it, I probably have my own list of quirks and indiscretions as long as your arm. So let's just leave it at this. People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Stones, master.